conversation, as much as growing class sizes is attractive, comes with some strings attached, and cutting is hurtful, but it also has some upside to it, because being leaner, you can actually get some efficiencies. So it's actually both pieces are in play when we talk about budgeting and making it work.
Right, and I do want to reinforce that, because our Budget and Finance Committee, what some of you may or may not, they're elected parents, but most of those parents that have been on there have a lot of longevity. They're some really solid guys that I've worked with for years, and they're really sharp. We know the school, and they are often talking about let's cut. They're pretty fiscally lean. Craig was on there for a while, and he's sat in some other meetings, and they're usually sounding cuts too, right? To balance it out, because we understand that we do want to have it all, but again, we have to find the balance between them. Yeah.
And that's why the Thursday meeting is so critical, having the budget and finance, having the board, and having personnel at that meeting. Because personnel is looking at, how do we take care of our staff? Do we have money to raise finances? Well, budget and finance is saying, like, we need to cut over this place. The board is saying, well, these are our, areas, and that's where parents then have that opportunity to voice in that, knowing that this is draft one, and where we can go from that feedback. So Thursday, 6 o'clock in room 265.
For me? Yeah. Okay.
It's just a piggyback question that I was just thinking about. My name is Leah Berquist. I have the privilege of being the curriculum chair in elementary. And it just sort of, my brain is thinking about this. And one of the things that I've noticed on the curriculum side is we look at reward schools that are doing really well according to state standards. And we look at the curriculum that they're using, we evaluate it and assess it. And I am aware of other charter schools that are similar in size that maintain a small classroom size and have phenomenal technology, whiteboards in every room and things. And so the spirit of my question is, similar to the curriculum, are we also looking at other charter schools as sort of best practices? What are they doing? Just in the theory that different people think differently and might have some new ideas. And if so, what are those schools that we consider?
So, and that's a good question. I was saying that before you were asking this question. I was just we were at a basketball game at St. Croix Prep last week, and I think it was Thursday. And it's a beautiful school, big school. They have 90 per section. They have 3, so they have 30 at every grade level. They have 30, 30, 30. Okay, which leads you to a lot more. One student, it makes a big difference. So with that, they have a lot of things. If somebody says, small class sizes, I would want to ask them. I would, and I think obviously we can talk to some other schools that have the smaller ones and how do you do this. But if you have the latest technology, maybe they wrote a grant, right? Maybe they had a big fundraiser. I don't know. Yeah, we do. They do, right. And so those are things, it's like, that's where it's like parental involvement can help tremendously, because I know our staff is, pretty, they've got their hands pretty full. So some parents are really skilled at going out and getting some grants or getting some fundraising or things like that. Those would be really helpful for us to be able to expand certain things without having to touch class sizes. So. For me too, or?
Sure, I'll keep piggybacking on.
I'm missing the game,
I will work
guys.
hard to be brief. Good evening. My name is Nathan Flansburgh. I'm a parent of a 4th and 8th grader here at PACT and have been here for 9 years. First and foremost, before I even go into that, I just want to say thank you to each and every one of you who are up here. The amount of time and energy that you put forth on behalf of the families and our children should be commended, and I just want to say thank you to all of you for that. Because we sit out here and we get to come every once in a while and show up, and you're here week after week making very difficult decisions. And as you go into those difficult decisions, I would just ask, as you continue to focus on all of those problems through a student lens and what is best for our kids. And sometimes it's very easy to get caught up in what is best for us as parents and what is best for teachers. And that's not the purpose of a school. And we are here for our children, and we are here because we want to see them grow and we want to see them learn, and we want what's best for them, which then does piggyback into the technology and the research behind it. So being in public education myself for over 21 years, I love technology, but you need to know the research behind it too. Just because you have the newest and the shiniest doesn't improve test scores. We're inundated by technology all around us, and the more the research comes out, we are finding out kids are ending up more depressed the more time they have their screens in front of them. So be careful about what you wish for, you might just get it, right? Technology is wonderful if it serves a purpose. And if we look in that direction, make sure that it's all about engaging kids in a constructivist manner, hands-on engagement versus, hey, look, we've got some really cool technology that we just implemented in the building, because just having stuff doesn't do anything for learning unless there's a new engagement and dendrites are being grown in our children's brains. And worksheets don't do that, and just having a computer in front of you doesn't do that. It's more in-depth. So again, going back to the thank you again, and going to the question with finance, I heard Dr. Murtis earlier talk about QComp. Is the plan to apply for QComp, quality compensation, the alternative funding program from the state? And has the school looked at ADSYS as well, the ADSYS grant, and being able to use that as an additional funding source, which can be ongoing? ADSYS is an alternative delivery instructional method to be able to bring additional revenue.
Okay. I have heard of QComp, and I believe that we have talked about trying to apply for that. I have not heard, does anyone know about the other thing? I've never heard of it.
ADSYS.
We looked into the ADSYS grant last year as we were talking about funding for the RTI program. We didn't have anyone on staff that was qualified to apply for that at that time. So it is something that we can look into further. I know you have experience with that.
I have experience with ADSYS and with QComp, and really it just comes down to we're not set up to be able to have these things. Simple things like having a teacher evaluation model. You have to have that in place to even apply, and we don't. So there are some structural things that we as a school need to have in place before we can even apply, and then there's a big long waiting list, because guess what, everybody else wants free money too for what they're doing. So it's a matter of getting our in-house stuff here in chip-shop shape to be able to do it.
And then just a couple more questions. Again, kudos to the board for taking on the school improvement task force, because I've been around, like I said, for a number of years. I've known about PACT since its early years through friends and family who have come through the system prior to my own children attending. And just as a reminder, when you get into the school improvement cycle, it's not a destination. It is definitely a long-term process. And Craig, I think you mentioned that. But it is extremely ongoing. But as we look at that and we look at our committee structure, and I know parent input is extremely valuable. At the same time, the joke in government is if you want to kill a bill, send it to committee. And it can also slow down absolutely necessary change that needs to take place, which then leads me to my next question. Bethel, as our authorizer, is a wonderful entity to be able to support the work that we do. Their educational program is ranked #1 in the state of Minnesota and number 16 in the nation. And when you look at our partner is one of the best educational entities around, we should feel proud that they want to work with us. That said, I heard transparency talked about a lot this evening, repeatedly through the evening, whether it was in slides or spoken. Dan, you mentioned that Bethel said that there is room for growth. I'd like to know specifically what is the room for growth that Bethel sees, and what are PACT's plans to be able to respond to our authorizers' requests for improvement. Thank you. Yeah.
Well, the official report will be presented on the next meeting, so we'll have specifics then. So at this point, we don't, we have specifics from like our previous contracts and things. We don't have anything as of from this past site visit that took place recently that's going to be presented next. and we get more specifics on that at that point. Yeah.
So what we do know from the prior report is our test scores are of like paramount importance, and our strategic move in our executive director is spearheading that. That was recognized by the board that over the last few site visits and reports that we were losing ground. So that's the core, fundamental, number one objective, is to drive our reading, our math scores up, and we're seeing signs of improvement, and we're just getting underway. And I mean that with all due respect to the staff who are working hard to make that happen. And I think we're doing some structural changes, and I think we're going to be pleasantly surprised with the gauge they have on. And we met last week with them, and so they are looking at the nuts and the bolts of what is happening, and some of that was coming through in the instructional observations in these PLCs, and getting focus on a host of things, and that you in the education world know better than me. So I guess Dr. Mertes, you probably could give a much better answer, but I just jumped in. So.
No, following up when you're talking about testing, another one comes to mind. As our measures of success, we're currently using MCA and NWEA, and we talked about creating alignment for how we are, giving the tests in an era of we hear the words frequently, test fatigue amongst kids. Are we prepping kids for a test, or are we prepping them for life? Because I'm pretty sure, when you leave the world, you don't do worksheets all day long. But as we look at NWEA specifically, could somebody walk me through how teachers are being supported in understanding the results? So it's not just a summative one-time, hey, here's your RIT score that nobody really understands, but we use it as a measure because maybe Bethel wants us to. Or are we using it formatively to truly guide instruction and know how to better meet the needs of individualized students across the spectrum? And if it isn't formative, A, why not? And B, if that's not the direction that the board is choosing to go with NWEA, why are we bothered giving it?
There's something called autopsy data, which means it's dead data. It means we have this, it's outdated, we don't use it, it's not helpful. And so that's what we do not want. Bethel also requires us to have a nationally normed test beyond MCAs, which the school has chosen in the past to use NWEA. Is it effective in those lower grades? We've done it in kindergarten in the past. This year we're not. Should we be doing them in first and second and third grade? Is that a true, accurate measurement? So that's something we're looking at. Which grades should we be using it for? Secondly, we are putting an emphasis more than has been in the past of showing your work. Students not just clicking along, oh, B, click, oh, D, click, but showing their work, improving their answer for, this is how I found the answer. For this reading passage, I found the answer in the second paragraph in the second line. And so that's slowing them down, making them be able to prove it and be able to verbalize it. Then from there, we're talking about growth scores, and we're talking about goal setting with our students. This is what it means to be at grade level. This is where your goal is. How are we going to achieve that? Then them going into the test knowing what it is, and when they finish that NWA test, the score immediately shows for them to know, I made it, I didn't make it, what is it? So that it's not just meaningless, like, oh, this is another online test we have to do. But no, today is a day to celebrate, and we're gonna see how much celebrating we're gonna do based on what I have just shown. And then for the MCAs, that is the 50 mark. So if you're in third grade, 350 is meeting at grade level. And so we're looking not only at are we meeting grade level, but those growth scores and comparisons. And something that you may not know, that in the upper grades, like in 5th grade, let's say in 4th grade you got a 456. You have met, there's that 56. So then you think in 5th grade, I should at least get above that 56. I should get a 58. I should be getting better on that. And what teachers are learning in previous districts that I've been in are unaware that the fact that when you're looking at their growth scores, and Nathan probably already knows this, so I'm preaching to the choir for him, but for the rest of you, that in those grades, you can actually go down in your score and still have increased in growth. So just because you went down, if it was a 456, and we're looking at those last two numbers, 56, and now let's say the next year you're at a 5 for 5th grade, like 45, you've gone down, it appears, from a 56 to a 45, and yet when you're looking at their growth chart, you've actually maybe met medium growth or high growth. And so that's a misconception that our students have, but I'm missing a piece of which you've brought up.
So I was curious, in thinking of as students get the RIT score, so I
Yes.
love see how it's a growth measure for kids.
Yeah.
How are specifically, if I sit down, I want to talk to a teacher and go, so how are you using this information to tailor or personalize instruction for what it means for my child?
Yes.
And using that to guide formatively versus as you described it, the autopsy, the summative assessment, being able to say, it's all really, hey, we gave the test, it's all said and done, adios.
Can I speak to?
Yeah.
So at the first and second grade level, I can just give you an example of using our MAP score data. It breaks it down, for instance, in math, number and operations and measurement, et cetera, And we saw one year that we were weak in measurement. So we created stations that focused on measurement, and then we created an assessment, an individual assessment that we gave to see if we were meeting that in them. So we've analyzed the data, and looking at the breakdown
And that's what I wanted to know, is so
Yeah.
are you as staff using that informatively to guide the work that you're doing, or was it just another test?
we are in first and second grade.
And if I may speak a little bit for secondary, at least with math. But similarly with secondary, we also use it with the academic strategies class. That's one of the ways you can kind of get gauged for if they should be in there is if they're not scoring well on the MAP test, whether it be for math or reading, they'll get, the students might get placed into this academic strategies class where it's, especially now with next year, I think even more so with the idea of having it be taught specifically by language arts or math teachers, having it be more targeted, all right, let's improve these math scores or reading scores, but also, at least in my math class too, and again, when I get that data, I'll look through it, and that similar idea, I'll look through that, all right, I might see weaknesses, say, in the probability statistics areas, so now let's find ways I can supplement that into my curriculum to help improve that strand.
Hi, I'm Rochelle Neff. Just wanted to talk to you. We were at the board meeting. This is our first year here at PACT. I'm really excited to be here. My kids love it. But we were as well concerned about hearing with the budget and the idea that maybe looking at adding to the class sizes or the kindergarten. We got a little concerned with that. Not opposed to change, however, a little bit concerned about adding to the class sizes because if our focus is on academics, I'm wondering if that's going to impact those students that, by increasing class sizes. And if we're already failing on academics in some places and we need to improve what that means, because I'm having a hard time understanding that if you add students to the classroom that it's going to be beneficial for everybody involved. And really, I know we're not in Okahenepin, but I know they wouldn't have as many kids in class as we would if we added. And I know we're looking for extra ways of raising money. But again, I think we're also, as we talked at home, I think we need to decide what is most important to our school. And if it is academics, then maybe it isn't as important to go for, the latest and greatest in technology and whatnot. And so I'm hoping that when people are thinking about ways to make change, that they're thinking about those individual kids in the classroom and thinking about what's best for them. How would it feel for them in those classrooms? Are they going to be able to achieve more academically or not? I really want to hear from the school that they're thinking not just about the overall of the school or the teachers, but also that I want to hear from them that they're saying, I'm doing what's best for the students. I really want to hear that. Also with the school task improvement, I'm wondering if, okay, so I hear you're bringing all stakeholders in. Personally wondering, when you're talking about those stakeholders and its parents, if they're gonna be specifically parents as opposed to teachers/parents?
So, no, I meant parents of children and not in a teaching capacity is the intent of the statement that was in the proposal. Did you want a response on your other question? I guess I would defer to a teacher or Dr. Murtis on that.
There's a researcher out there named Hattie, and he has done lots of research and multiple studies to figure out what are the biggest things that impact student achievement. And you'll find that it's student engagement, not class size. Not that our goal is to raise class size, but knowing, as Patty had mentioned, that 95% of our money that we have comes through our students in the seats. And so I've said this multiple times, and I'm going to say it again. No decisions have been made, but that budget meeting with the board and PRS, that's going to be a big discussion of what does the next draft look like? What are these numbers going to be? In regards to the kindergarten, the main person we work with from BKDB, his name is Nick, and he is brand new to our school within the last year. And so he doesn't know the history of the school, he doesn't know what's been discussed in the past. And so he very innocently brought up all-day kindergarten, saying, wow, like the amount of revenue, the tens of thousands of dollars that we could gain from this, like why aren't we tapping into this? And I said, well, I'm brand new here too, Nick. And so I said, all I know from the past is it's been a big discussion regarding that. And so since then we've had multiple additional meetings. He was at the board meeting and spoke, and he will be at the Thursday evening meeting. And so what we'll be looking at is what the input is between staff and parents, looking from the budget and finance about regarding, the revenue with this, of having one all day and one half day. So we provide that option. We also have right now an open seat in kindergarten that we are unable to fill. And we're unable to fill this seat because we have gone through a list of 116 kindergartners. 39 of them are in our seats. The other 77 has said no. And they've said no for various reasons. It's the middle of the year, we're not interested in transitioning our kid. A lot of them have said no, we're looking for all-day kindergarten. When we go through 77 no's on a waiting list, and a huge portion of that is looking for all-day kindergarten, we need to listen to that. We should not have an open seat right now. We shouldn't. When you get 77 no's, and they've been initially put themselves on the waiting list, like nobody else put them on there, they put themselves on that list and decide no. And realizing, somebody might not want to move their kid in November. Somebody maybe thought, half-day kindergarten is exactly what we need. Now they're in all-day kindergarten at another school and saying, this is working really well. Let's change this. So it's not only just to increase revenue, but it's also to listen to the people who are wanting to come to our school. Some people are very adamant that they are only interested in half day, and that's fine. Others really want all day, and this might be a happy medium between being able to fill the seats and being able to provide choice for parents.
I think my concern was just that even if we had all-day kindergarten, even if we had all-day kindergarten, if we have the space for them and everything, that we're just considering what that looks like and that it would be great fit, that's all.
And Emily, I might have missed it, apologies. Did you, as you go through that half-day, full-day conversation with kindergarten, would you looking at half-day and a full-day option? Even
Correct.
one of each?
Right, we would have one section of all day and one section of half day, which would mean we would have to hire an additional part-time kindergarten teacher. Our current one could teach the all day, and then we would have to do another salary for that. When you look at the revenue, this Nick from BKDB has all those numbers, and that will be discussed in the next week in different committees of the revenue for this class size and all day, for both sections, all day for one section, half section, so we can really weigh out. If we would have to create the space in the building, that money would come from a building fund, so that wouldn't be that additional revenue that we would get, but we also have a salary to pay, and we'd also have to buy desks and chairs and those types of things. But in the long term, is that a direction we want to go? That's what we are in the middle of exploring. No decision has been made, but we're going to explore it, because again, we have an empty seat, and we've gotten 77 no's. We also have concerns regarding revenue that are sustainable. You know, we've talked about that we can't use this fund balance for the wages of our staff, yet if we want to maintain people, we need to pay them well. Where do we find that? And where is the happy medium in all of this? So it's a lot of people coming together and providing that opportunity for you to have a voice and for you to hear. I mean, when you hear it from these financial people, all these different pieces, then you gain a much better understanding, not only from the student perspective, because that's what we think about all the time, but what are these other perspectives on these same issues?
Can I add one thing to that? Just academic-wise, like to do a full day, I have no more kids coming through, so this doesn't really affect me, but obviously it affects other people. If you have a full day kindergarten and a half day kindergarten, when they go into first grade, isn't one of them going to be further along than the other? And then we're right back to where we were of never being on the same page at grade.
And can you announce your name again?
Katie Jackson.
Yeah, but I do want to wrap it up soon. We're over our time. So by all means, if you need to leave, feel free.
And I can even chime in for that as an administrator who's lived through that on both sides. It all depends on what home life is like. If you are an actively engaged family who are supporting your child, you can be half day and they are going to be academically just fine. If you have a child who needs additional academic supports and you're not able to provide that same level of support that certain families can, then it's an equalizer. So for some families it's an advantage, for some families it's an equalizer. Some kids, it doesn't mean that just because you're half day, you're going to be behind when you go to first grade.
The other thing that we're looking at is regarding if it's just half day, how can we really pack the academics in that? And that might mean they don't have as much specialist, and that all day might have more specialist time. So that they get exposure to that, but the academic, the core math and reading would be more equal in time. So it's certainly on our radar and something that we're thinking of.
One more thing, not a part of the concern whether the kindergarten thing changes. I am concerned that that night there's programming meetings, so there'll be a whole bunch of people who wouldn't be able to be there, and it is again such short notice. I wasn't aware. I'm not even sure if the board was aware they would be there. So again, I think this is what's gotten us into so many difficulties last year was fast movement, no notice, and the circumstances or the topic are not the problem, but it becomes a problem. So I'm just wondering how that's a good meeting to be to. You're stressing that's a very good meeting to be to, and yet I know I'm committed to other meetings that night already. And how many, that's it.
This is just the first night of multiple conversations. So the board will be talking about it February 1st at their meeting. PRS is going to be talking at their meeting. This is draft one, and this is the beginning of the conversation with actual hard numbers. So it's not a one and done thing, but this is the beginning of it.
Well, I absolutely love this discussion. I think it's great. I absolutely love hearing the feedback and the questions. If there's one last one, otherwise I think we'll wrap up here. All right. We do, just a reminder, there are elections coming up, so if you have any names right now that you want to nominate, parent opening, teacher openings, you can go to the website, nominate them. If they accept, they can run for the board. So we'd love to have you active. Be sure you get out there and vote and get active. And then we'll go. And we have one more thing here.
I wasn't as explicit in my plug for recruiting on these teams. I just wanted to make it clearer that I'm looking for people to reach out. And then if you're aware of people that would be willing to have input to these teams, I welcome you to just reach out to me and connect with me, and we'll try to figure out who that might be, if it's you or someone else, and we'll work with that. So thank you.
All right, can we get a motion to adjourn? Second? All right, all in favor of adjourning, say aye. Opposed? Abstentions? The motion carries. Thank you again for an offer, we appreciate it.